Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this video, I am going to discuss about database management system. Before getting started with this video, if you are new to my channel, then please do subscribe. And if you are already a subscriber, then please do watch whole video and hit the like button. Now let's get started. What we will discuss in this particular video. First, we will get to know what is meant by three-tier architecture and we'll get to know what is database management system and its types. And later, we'll briefly discuss about relational DBMS and some of the terminologies. What is three-tier architecture? I will give you an example. Uh, for instance, you wanted to order something from Amazon mobile application. What you will do? You will go to that particular app and you will search for that particular product. By checking all the description and details about it, you will at last place the order, right? So just relate that example to this architecture. When you open that particular app, whatever the things you are seeing on your mobile, that is nothing but the user interface. So that layer we call as presentation layer. And the next thing, you are searching for a product, right? When you are searching for a product, there will be a code executed in the background. So that code is written by the developers and that layer is known as application layer. And whenever that code is executed, the data should be fetched, right? Whenever you hit enter button after you type the product name, you click the enter button. Immediately you will get all the products related to it. What does that mean? It is nothing but the data. So that data is fetched from this database and this is nothing but the database layer. How this application layer will interact with the database layer is they use SQL language in order to communicate with the database layer. So in the presentation layer, which is also known as the front end, in order to create this layer, they will use the technologies like HTML, CSS, JavaScript, React, Bootstrap, and so on. And when it comes to the application layer, which is also known as the middleware, they will use different programming languages in order to write the logic. Those programming languages can be C, C++, Java, Python, and so on. And the application layer needs to be interacted with this database layers, right? So they will be using a language known as SQL. Now let's see what is meant by data. Data, if I ask what is data, you say just information about something, right? Yeah, it is also correct, but in technical terms, you have to understand it in a very deep way, right? Let's say we take a person. Let's say his name is Shiva or something. Let's say his name is Shiva, okay? That person has a name and age, gender, country, address, date of birth. What all these things are known as, this is nothing but the information about that person. But in technical terms, this date of birth, address, country, gender, age, name are known as properties or attributes. Okay, so this person is a real world entity, right? So you can call him as an entity or an object. So at last we can define data as data is a raw fact which describes the properties or attributes of an entity or object. So this is what data means. Now let's see what is meant by database. I'll give you an example. Let's take a library. In library, how the books are actually stored? They are stored in a systematic way, right? for one subject this one section is allotted. In that kind of manner they will be storing those books, right? So let's let's take uh, in mobile, I mean from internet also they will collect information about the users in bulk, right? They just don't store them in a messy way, right? They, in order to retrieve or fetch the details of that user, they will have to organize those data into systematic and organized manner. So in order to do that, what we will use, we will be using something known as database. So here you can see database is a place where the data is stored in systematic and organized manner. And take the same example of the library. In that library, different set of books are there. For example, if um, in that one book is updated, I mean a new version of that book has come into the market, what the librarian will do, he will um, he will I mean he will update that book, right? So different kinds of operations he will do, right? At the same time, when you are dealing with the database, you need to do different kinds of operations. Here, those operations are known as CRUD operations. So, here in this word, every letter stands for different operation. Like C stands for create, R stands for read, U stands for update, and D stands for delete. And next, what is database management system? See, I know that we in the last thing, that is what is database, we came to know that we have to organize the data in a structured way, right? But how we can organize them? You can't do it manually, right? So there should be some kind of software in order to do that. So DBS is that kind of software where it will maintain and manage the databases. Here actually it should be database, it is not data, it is some typo. Okay. So database management system is the software which is used to maintain and manage the data. Here you can see if the developer wants to interact with the database, or user has to interact with the database, or the application has to interact with the database, there should be some software. So that software is nothing but the DBMS. So if you want to interact with this DBMS also, there is some language to be used that is known as query language. Most of them think that it should be structured query language, right? But it is not. If you want to communicate with this DBMS, then you have to use a query language. And next we will see the types of DBMS. There are many types of DBMS and I have listed only four of them. So the first one is hierarchical DBMS. In this hierarchical DBMS, the data is stored in the form of a tree-like structure. And the next thing is object-oriented DBMS. Here, the data is stored in the form of objects and classes. And when it comes to network DBMS, the data is stored in the form of networks. And when it comes to relational DBMS, the data is stored in the form of tables. Now let's see what is relational DBMS. I mean, why I'm discussing only about relational DBMS is in real time we mostly use relational DBMS only. We'll not use other DBMS. I mean, for some applications they will use, but most of the time we will be using relational DBMS only. So, what is this relational DBMS? So, relational DBMS is a type of DBMS where we will be storing the data in the form of tables. Here you can see here in the student. this is the student table. How the data is organized here in the form of tables, right? I mean, um, these are the columns and these are the rows. Okay, so relational DBMS follows a relational model. What is meant by relational model is it states that the data should be stored in the form of tables only. So that rule is given by EF Cord in 1950s. And if you want to interact with this RDBMS, we will be using one language known as structured query language. If you want to interact with the DBMS, we will be using query language. But in case of RDBMS, we will be using SQL. And next, we'll get to know some of the terminologies of this table. So here you can see employee ID, employee name, job name, salary, mobile number, department ID, project ID. These are the columns, right? So these can be called as columns or attributes. And next, so whatever the rows you are seeing here, this is the information about one entity named John, and this is the information about the other entity named Adam, right? These are known as rows, tuples, or fields. And the last thing that is, so this is known as a cell. Cell is a place where we will be storing the data. So this one is also known as a cell. The single unit of the table is known as cell. So thank you. This is about the database management system. If you have any queries, then please do write your queries in the comment section.